go. All right, everybody, we are approaching just a few seconds away from that closing bell. And the S&P 500 pretty much ending flat, but we've had quite a run-up in stocks this week. In fact, it's the best week since March. This is coming after 4 consecutive weekly declines for stocks. There's the Dow Jones Industrial Average, a gain of about 34 points, or up 0.4%, 87.46. Interesting, S&P, I just want to go back to it. 940 is where it's kind of settling in. That's a key mark that some of the technical analysts are keeping an eye on. There's your Nasdaq, a gain of, well, not even quite 2 points, so essentially flat here, 1886. You know, investors had a lot to digest, not only this week, but today as well in terms of the earnings front. All right, let's get a breakdown of what really drove the markets today and really for the week overall. Chris Valerio joining us from the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. Zara Burton breaking down this week's action in equities. And still with us, our featured guest, Michael Yoshikami. He's the Chief Investment Strategist at YCM Net Advisors. So, Chris, let's start with you. So this was a tremendous week for stocks here.
Tremendous week for stocks. It really was all about earnings this week. Certainly, we had several reports coming in better than estimated. Today, though, we had more stocks falling than gaining. A lot of it had to do with General Electric. This was a stock throughout the day that struggled, proved to be a negative catalyst for those industrial stocks, specifically second quarter profit falling more than analysts estimated. Revenue at 4 out of their 5 kind of industries falling off, and certainly that hurt the group. Remember, General Electric, a bellwether for the global economy, so a lot of attention on that stock. Then you had the big banks, and this came on the back of J.P. Morgan and Goldman Sachs. Today, Bank of America, second quarter profit falling due to that consumer side. EPS beating estimates, but revenue not much expected there, or nothing that was a catalyst for investors to kind of get in there. Citigroup, same story, posting a $4.2 billion profit, but a lot of that came from that sale of Smith Barney. You take that out, and the loss was more than analysts had expected. So certainly these banking stocks will continue to be ones that we watch, especially as we get into the regional banks. Within technology, Google coming out for the first time in 9 sessions, falling off after it had reported slowing sales last night. Here's something interesting for you, Kara. If you take a look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average, we closed up, I'm looking at the board here, 36 points, 31 points, I should say, 32 points higher. 35 points on the price-weighted Dow Jones Industrial Average came from IBM. IBM getting a huge jump up at the end of the day. You had Citigroup raise that company's EPS and its price estimate, and it shot up. And, of course, because it's a price-weighted average on the Dow, 35 of those points coming from one specific stock, so you can see why we ended higher on the Dow there. So, all in all, a good day. Have to mention the eco data real quick because it came in a lot better than expected, and housing stocks closed out a really phenomenal week. Carol.
Chris, I got to ask you about, you mentioned watching volume, I think, in the last half hour, given expiration. So how do we fare on that front?
You know, volume coming in was, we were coming out to the here, it was about 7 billion shares at all U.S. exchanges. I'm going to have our producer take a look at that real quickly, but I will tell you that it is expirations. Volume typically tends to pick up. That said, we've had a very light week here, very low volume week to the 3-month average. Also, what I wanted to point out was the volatility index falling way off. It had a huge drop this week, down more than 60%. But if you look at the futures contracts, even as early as August, pricing in 29.